In 10 seconds.
Oh, we're live. Oh, shit.
Apparently.
Sorry. I forgot I'm running the GWW control room from another PC on the other side of the room, so I'm like, where the hell's the button? Oh, that's right, it's over on the other computer. So, hey, welcome, everybody who's joining in or who watches this podcast in the future. This is the Geeks with Wives and Capes and Geeks on Screen Mega Crossover Annual Number 1 Superhero TV Preview and Saying Goodbye show. So
I'm impressed. You got that out in one breath.
Dude, I had to definitely write that down. So here with me tonight, I have Geeks with Wives Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Casey Walsh. How you doing, Case?
Good. That distinction is just way too good for me, I think. We need to figure something else out that's not so prominent sounding.
Grand Poobah?
Yeah.
He who shall not be named?
Oh, man. I just got out of the Speed Force and my legs are tired.
Awesome. And joining us here tonight, I have my constant partner in crime, Mr. Jonathan Reyes. How you doing, John?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
And hold on, in order to give your intro justice,
oh yeah,
Miss Belmont, let me mute my mic and pop a cool one real quick first.
Wait, why do you have to mute his mic for that? That was a lot of dead air.
I am so confused by what just happened.
I broke open the elixir that fuels the podcast, that's all.
Oh, the secret ingredient. I get it.
So, in joining us tonight for our curtain call and kind of sort of the intro of her and her crew, even though they've gotten started a couple weeks ago, is Miss Sarah Belmont, one of the hosts of the Screens and Nerds podcast, which has most recently merged with Geeks with Wives. Miss Sarah, how you doing?
I'm good. It's kind of funny because I just started hosting with them, I don't know, 4 episodes ago. So I'm brand new to their crew, too.
Throwing you in the fire, Sarah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I have to ask you this. I'm a huge Castlevania fan. Do you play Castlevania?
No, I don't, but I know.
You've heard it before? Okay, I'm just making sure.
I've heard it. One of my older brothers is actually named Chris.
Oh.
There you go.
I bet Castlevania is a real hot commodity down there or up there in Alaska too.
I was going to say, Casey, you need to check a map.
Yeah, if Dracula did show up there at the right time of year, you guys would be completely screwed.
Yeah.
Like perpetual nighttime, he never has to worry about sunlight.
Yeah, there was a movie about that. What was it called?
30 Days a Night.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome movie.
What was it called?
Moving on.
So Casey, do you want to, since the last 2 words in the title of this evening's show is Saying Goodbye, and we just talked about Sarah and her team joining up, you want to kind of really quickly go over why this is the Geeks on Screen curtain call and how Screens and Nerds will be moving in?
Yeah, let me turn down Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon so I can get serious here for a second. Yeah, so to welcome Geeks, I'm already getting confused. To welcome Scene and Nerd into the fold of Geeks with GWW, we are going to kind of dismantle Geeks on Screen and everything under the entertainment banner that will be a podcast or a live medium or anything like that will fall under now Scene and Nerd, because Scene and Nerd is our flagship kind of entertainment podcast. So we want everything to fall under their great brand and banner from now on. And I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, that's the best I can really do. So this is the last kind of Geeks on Screen episode. And I'm commandeering it too because we didn't have a Capes episode this week, so we decided to do a giant kind of like hoorah send-off episode, and we'll post it on both the Capes feed and the Geeks on Screen feed, and this will be the last Geeks on Screen, and everything from that forth on will be considered Scene and Nerd. And Sarah's in charge.
What? Pete's in charge. I'm not in charge. Heck.
Oh, Pete didn't tell you?
No, he hasn't given me that memo yet, but that seems like the smart thing to do at the same time.
Very cool. Well, thanks a lot, Casey and Sarah. Appreciate it. So what brings us together here tonight is we all wanted to get together and recap the last seasons of both the Arrow and the Flash, primarily. We'll probably talk about some other superhero shows as well. And then kind of spool a little bit about the seasons that are coming up. And while we had very grand plans to get this done earlier in the year, we're at the point of just trying to make sure we jam it in before these seasons get started, because both the Arrow and the Flash will kick off in the second week of October. So, Sarah, can you kindly do us the honor of maybe recapping for us a little bit of Arrow Season 3?
Okay, Arrow Season 3.
Wait, hold on, Sarah. Let me do it for you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Are you done, Casey?
I'm done.
You
Okay, go ahead.
totally threw me off just to make a joke. Way to go.
Welcome to the fold.
But actually, he's right. I wanted Season 4 to start the moment Season 3 started. But so it was Oliver's identity crisis, basically. So we start out with them having defeated Slade in the Season 2 finale. Oliver and Felicity kiss for the first time. He says, I don't want to, or I can't be with you, etc., etc. The important thing to remember, Sarah Lance dies in the first episode. And then it's all about who killed Sarah Lance. And then that's revealed to be Thea under the tutelage of Malcolm Merlyn, because he has a master plan, because he wants to take down Roz. And so then there's this epic battle between Oliver and Roz. Oliver ends up, quote-unquote, dying, only he doesn't die because he's the main character, so that can't happen. Then there's a time period when Oliver isn't in Starling City. And then, God, I'm doing a horrible job. I'm so sorry about this.
No, you're good.
You're good. You're remembering much more than I would have if I were trying to do this.
Okay, so then Laurel becomes Black Canary. That happens. Then Oliver returns to Starling, but he still doesn't know what he's fighting for, and he has an offer from Roz to take his place as Ra's al Ghul, take up that mantle, which he considers, then he turns down. Ray Palmer becomes the Atom. Felicity and Oliver have sex. That happens. You can tell I'm a Felicity fan because I'm pointing out all their big moments. Then
Doesn't he have an illegitimate kid in there somewhere too?
Yeah, but that was second season. We're talking about third. I mean,
okay.
And technically they mentioned that on The Flash, so maybe I'll bring that in the Flash recap. It didn't happen technically in the third season of Arrow, just saying. Technicality case. So what else happened? Oliver becomes Asahim for a time period. He gets brainwashed, but he's really not brainwashed. He tries to kill everybody, but he's doing that to protect them. Then they want to release an epidemic onto Starling City, and then they get together and take down Roz, and Oliver ends up killing Roz, and then rides off in the sunset with Felicity. Oh, there's also Speedy's storyline. Thea Queen becomes Speedy because Roy Harper, how do I explain that? Yeah, I forgot about that storyline while I was doing my recap, but Thea Queen is not Speedy.
Because Roy Harper had to go out and help save the state of California from an earthquake.
Well, I think it was a different movie. I think they already wrapped on that movie by that point, but pretty much that's the real reason.
Right.
He's gonna go be a movie star. He's too big for Arrow now.
He's gonna try to be a movie star.
Okay, very cool. Anything else major happen in the season? Or I guess at that point, you know, they pretty much drive towards the end with the last big fight between Pop and Roz.
Well, it is important to point out, especially for the fourth season, that while Oliver was Asahine, he ended up kidnapping Lila and putting Diggle's family in danger, and so now there's a rift between Diggle and Oliver going into the next season.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much. Very nice recap. So, so one of the things I want to do is, and this is a slight curveball because I didn't firmly have this in the agenda, but
Oh no! Wait, hold on. I don't know if I can handle this.
and Sarah, this might be a little new for you because you haven't been with the site that much, but Casey and John are very familiar with kind of how we grade and rate and assign review scores. So, Jonathan Reyes, I'm going to start with you. If you had to apply a score to Arrow Season 3 on the standard GWW scale, what would you give it?
Oh man, it's so hard because it's still I still have some type of affection for the show, but it was a down season for the show for sure. It wasn't terrible, but it just kind of like it was borderline. It was just borderline the whole time. So I'm gonna say 6.
Whoa! Wow, you hurt me. I feel like I just got freaking jabbed in
loving
the
the
ribs,
show.
dude.
Yeah. It disappointed me very badly. And then each time it was kind of like watching it alongside Flash. I know it's kind of unfair. It was just I felt Flash was a lot stronger for most of its first season.
Okay. If you had to put your finger on one factor that caused you to give it a 6, what do you think that would be?
It was just too dark.
Okay.
It never embraced its lighter side, and it got away from a lot of what made it a great show. So it looks like they're going back in that direction. So we'll see.
Okay. Case, what about you? Give me a
I didn't
score for the season, and then the main reason why.
Casey fell asleep during it.
Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. I don't think I'd give it as harsh a score as John. That's like a D, man. I don't think I'd give it a D. Gotten a D in a long time. But I think like a C minus. Pretty close to a D though. I know. I was just bored. Like it was just boring. I didn't feel like the villain was strong. Sarah mentioned this on their recap or their upcoming like preview episode. Like I think these superhero shows need to be like 10, 12 episodes. Like these 22 episodes, like they're not like at least Arrow is not strong enough. He just doesn't have the rogues gallery to carry 22 episodes. And then I've always argued this. He's just too much Batman. Like they need to like get Count Vertigo. They need to establish him as the big main baddie because that's who like Arrow's big bad guy is. And then they need to create villains if they can't like find villains that aren't just Batman villains because it just always seems like so Batman-y to me. Like that whole season, you could have just put in Batman and not changed anything, and it would have been the same exact show.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me ask you. So first of all, my comment about the shorter seasons. The more and more British television that I watch, and the more and more like AMC shows that I like, I'm feeling that needs to be the format for all U.S. television. All U.S. television just needs to get off the 22 episode, that being the standard format. And go to a 13 to 15 episode season. I feel like most shows that do that just tend to be tighter, more focused, and more enjoyable to watch. And now I can't remember what the other thing was that I was going to ask you. So, well, I guess what I was going to say about the Batman villains. Do you think that is an inherent problem with the character? And by that, I mean, there's this intention to do a Mockingbird spinoff for the Marvel shows. And then we have Arrow, and there's a few other characters that are under discussion. With a lot of those characters, a big problem I have is when I try and think of, or when somebody asks the question, well, who's that character's like arch nemesis? I'm like, I don't freaking know. They don't have recognizable rogues galleries because in the comics, as minor characters in the DCU, they tend to just kind of borrow all the villains from other books. So, do you think it's a problem inherent with the very character Green Arrow, or is it something that the CW is doing wrong?
No, I think it's an inherent problem. I mean, I'm just a nitpicky asshole too. I mean, like I like comic books for the villains. Like I'm not a particularly even fan of the heroes. So like I always find the villains more interesting, but if I just keep seeing the same villains over and over and over again across all media, like it gets like tedious. And I know the general public doesn't see the same villains I do or whatever, and isn't familiar with Ra's al Ghul and hasn't seen him in 1,000 different things. But I think if that show is going to succeed, it's going to have to do a better job at creating long-lasting villains that are unique to Arrow in his situation. Even if they're not from comic books, they just need to create their own at this point, I think.
Right. As long as they're not Cupid. Sarah.
Yeah.
What about you? What would you score this season? And you can put it in whatever terms you're comfortable with, and then main reason why.
Well, it's funny because I was laughing when John said his grade because I literally was thinking the same number. As much as I don't find it to be harsh. I find it to be honest. Whatever. But my main problem with Arrow
There goes
season
Greg
3,
Berlanti fucking guest spot.
Shut up, Casey. Let me talk. But my main problem with it was all of the undermining there was because you kill off Sarah Lance in the first episode, and then I think about 4 episodes later, it came out that Legends of Tomorrow was happening, and Sarah Lance is going to be in the cast. So you have this whole storyline about Laurel and Quentin grieving over their loss when the viewer knows, don't worry, she's going to be back next year. So it undermines that, and it doesn't have that compelling storytelling going on. Then you have Ra's al Ghul, who I don't read comic books, so I'm not as familiar with him, but he was not a formidable opponent. Casey Franco on Scene and Nerd pointed out, like, midway through the season, Ra's al Ghul on Arrow actively prevented death from happening to a lot of these main characters. Like, I think he was going to kill Oliver a few times, and he just chose not to, which was bizarre because you have a villain who's supposed to be, like, he had a giant man crush on Oliver Queen, which is not really what villains are supposed to have. They're supposed to want to take down the hero. So, yeah, I just felt like it wasn't interesting, and they had all of these arcs set up that you could see the outcome right from the beginning, so it made it anticlimactic.
On Sarah's point, to take it back to Batman, I think once again they're stealing Batman storylines, and a very popular storyline in Batman is Ra's al Ghul basically recruits him to marry his daughter Talia and have a baby and all that kind of stuff. So I think what they did is they just took that Batman, but they took the Talia part out of it. So then it makes it there's no interesting factor. Yeah, why keep him alive? Why toy with him? There's no to make him your successor. I don't know.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, to a certain extent, they even kept that Talia piece in there, right? Because she and Oliver were betrothed at one point in that arc. So for me, and it's always interesting when we get together and do these, right? Because there's all sorts of different dynamics that blend and are the impetus behind people's differences and perceptions of the show. So
wait, is the girl named Talia? No.
No. It was Nyssa.
Right.
Nyssa.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, that was like it was like that was like a 1-episode thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the comic, the whole thing is like, you are going to be my successor and fuck my daughter and have a child who will be your successor.
There we go. I need to mark down the time on that one.
Oh, are we censoring this?
No. It's just I always find it interesting to metrically track your first offensive injection into the podcast.
That was probably pretty
potentially offensive.
Right.
So for me, the way I was coming at the show this season was, for whatever reason, I started watching maybe at season 5 or 6 in the season, and watched it up to the mid-season break, and I had not watched seasons 1 or 2 before, so I just jumped in, watched it through the mid-season. While they were on holiday break, I rapidly went back and binge watched seasons 1 and 2, and the beginning of season 3, and then jump back in after the mid-season premiere. So this is my first. I'm still kind of maybe in my honeymoon phase with Arrow. If I had to score this season, let me first say I would have scored season 2 a 9, and I would score season 3 an 8. So let me say, first of all, I'm a dark show kind of guy. I mean, I get it. I get how there's a backlash against the overly dark approach to comics and some TV shows now, and I completely get the exhaustion that some of us and some of the media feels about, like, every show has to be dark, every movie has to have the brawl, like, sound effect in the trailer, and like all those things that define like dark movies and content. But I like that stuff. I like the Flash, but I'm okay with stuff being dark. The main reason for me that this season fell off from season 2 was it was a huge wind-up. Like, I felt like what Arrow season 1 and season 2 did so well are those final 6 episodes going up to the season finale.
Right.
But this season, that wind-up started back in like episode 13, and it was like 10 to 12 episodes before that whole thing got unraveled, and I was just exhausted. Like, by the last 3 or 4 episodes, I was like, all right, man, come on, So the show started to lose momentum for me going into those last few episodes. So let's talk a little bit about favorite events, favorite arcs. Maybe like the top 3 things that kind of went down in the season that were your most favorite, or that you found most interesting, or that really that you're most interested in going into season 4. So I'll just to kind of give an example, maybe we'll go round robin with these. I'll say the first one. The huge thing that kind of marked the season for me that I enjoyed the most was the big, I will call it the Justice League scene in, I want to say it was maybe the 3rd to last episode of the show, but it was the whole fight between Katana and her husband. It's the episode where you finally have all of the heroes all on screen in one big battle with the League of Assassins. You've got Adam, you've got Arrow. It's like
that was episode 22.
Okay.
Episode 22. Yeah,
okay.
Second from last.
Okay. Right. So that was the thing that I enjoyed the most, because I was as each of these things kind of came in from the side, and you see these guest characters and everything. There were points where I'm frustrated, and I'm like, just freaking put them all on screen at one time. Just do the Justice League thing. You're clearly telegraphing that punch, right? So we finally got that in that show, and I thought it was a really good show. And I thought the Katana scene with her unfortunately having to kill her husband rang very true with the way that character is rendered in the comics.
Did they ever explain why she had to wear that mask and stuff?
No.
It's just an odd choice, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be like a superhero, why the weird half mask? I don't know.
I think that mask. I'm definitely putting myself at risk for being inaccurate. I'm pretty sure that mask is reflective of an actual historical, either samurai or ninja mask or some type of Japanese warrior mask of the time, of ancient times, I should say.
I should know that, but it just throws me off when they just expect you to be like, oh yeah, except that there's a costume. I feel expecting a little bit of I wore this this was my dad's samurai, or it was a samurai helmet we passed down for whatever, and I painted it Japanese. Just something like that. Yeah. A little throwaway line.
Right. 2 minutes. Something like Janine Garofalo's character in Mystery Men. Just explain that the bowling ball is your dead father.
Yeah.
So Sarah, how about you? What was your one big character event or arc or whatever from season 1? I mean season 4, season 3. Jeez, sorry.
I really liked See a Queen this past season. That evolution of, especially if you go all the way back to season 1, and just how much she's grown and how subtly they did that, and then to make that switch with Roy Harper and having him leave the show and her pick up that mantle. that was really done well, and it wasn't overwritten, and you didn't really see it coming. I like the fact that, and I totally called this way back in February, like months before the episode aired, that it would be Thea that Roz kills in order to get Oliver to take on the Ra's al Ghul mantle. But I like that this season we're going to see what the Lazarus Pit effects are on her. So I really like that storyline from this past season.
All right, Casey, how about you?
I really liked watching Arrow get stabbed in the chest by Ra's al Ghul. It's like, oh, finally, can we just take a break for fucking like a couple weeks? He really doesn't need a break from this shit. No, I don't know. Like, I don't think there was a really moment. I agree with both of you, Agasicles and Sarah. Like, I did like Thea's arc probably the most. I'm really excited to see her come out as Speedy. I really hope she gets like addicted to heroin at some point.
She already was.
Oh yeah,
back in season 1.
They blew that already. They blew that wad. She needs to be in the costume addicted to heroin. We need that moment. Or for like coming home after like a long day and like taking off the hood. Sitting down.
You get it, Casey.
What else? Yeah, and I mean, all them coming together, although that is the weakest Justice League I've ever seen in my entire life. I am not confident. I don't know what they're doing with the Atom. Like, that seems like the weirdest mishmash of like, oh, it's kind of like Iron Man, but eventually like he'll shrink, and then like we finally see him shrink, and it's like the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. So I really hope they're able to like nail that down with Legends of Tomorrow and whatever they're doing with the Atom and Arrow season 3. Because I think like him shrinking is like it's what it needs to be, like him being like an Iron Man figure where he like flies around and shoots like repulsor or whatever. I don't know, it seems dopey.
Do you think that there's any way for them to pull off what I'll call an authentic Atom? And I'm not one of these people who gets wrapped around the axle about like it needs to be exactly like the comic. But in the comics, when you see him in the comics, he spends 90% of his time in his shrunken form. Like he is very rarely full sized.
Unless Brandon Routh is just like, man, I really don't want to be on the show anymore, and they just want to cut him down to like a couple episodes a season. But no, I don't think they can afford it unless they go like old school and they build giant sets. He's like walking around like a giant like or I guess it would just be a lab or here's what they could do. They could just say he shrunk down everything and he could just be on his own all the time, and then whenever like he needs to like interact with other people, then he's big all of a sudden. So I guess they could, but no, I don't think they will. Man, they should really fucking get off of that Ant-Man money. Some of that.
Ant-Man is Marvel, and this is DC.
No, I'm saying they should like because they're both shrinking.
Okay.
Play into that.
Okay.
People like Ant-Man, right?
So, Jonathan Reyes, what about you, man? What was one of your number one of your big 3 arcs or moments?
Yeah.
3.
I'll list. I mean, well, I know one of the big ones was that I think it was episode 9 where Oliver gets stabbed by Ra's al Ghul, however they want to pronounce it. But it's like that was a highlight for me. Probably one of the best episodes. What was the other one? Oh, I liked the Arrow Flash crossover. I thought that was pretty neat. And then the last one, and then just the highlight, I thought Brandon Routh as Adam was really just good performance-wise. In terms of the stuff what Casey said, I agree with that. Like, it was kind of a little weird seeing him almost like being Iron Man. But yeah, I thought Brandon Routh's performance. So those are like my 3.
Yeah, let me say one of my favorite redemption stories of 2015 is like all the hate and venom that guy gets for Superman Returns, which I don't think he fully deserves.
I agree.
Him just kind of resurrecting himself, but again as a superhero, I think is just an awesome story for him.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'll throw out another one for me for season 1. Or season 3.
Gaskins, I think you had enough fucking to drink today.
You need to come down off the Powerball, huh? for some reason now in Vapor Locket. So, Sarah, do you have a second one from season 3?
Probably the episode that actually made me. It's funny because I didn't really like this season, but the episode that made me fall in love with the show is the episode where Oliver returns to Starling City. And it's not really that whole episode, but that final scene, and it's the "I don't want to be a woman that you love" speech that Felicity gives to Oliver. That moment just, oh, I love that so much because it's for the first time within this genre, live action-wise, I've seen the love interest of a hero actively walk away from the situation. Not because he cheated on her, not because he lied to her, but because he came back acting as a man who she can't love because she knows that that version of him will never be able to love her. And I think that's beautiful. I really love that moment, and it made me reevaluate this show and what this show's willing to do, especially in terms of diverging from comic canon. So that was really a standout moment for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Jonathan, you got your number 2?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say. I mean, I'm trying to think of. It's just so hard. It probably towards the beginning of the season. I don't know. I would probably go with what you guys are saying before, the Thea stuff, because she was a character I could not stand the first 2 seasons. I don't know why, but I just couldn't. I was like, what's her point on this show? And then to see her kind of become her own person this season was great. Getting away from, I mean, she relied so much on Merlin for so long, but then to see her kind of become her own woman was amazing. It was nice, and then. I think it's actually in her best interest that Roy's gone. I think that'll make her even stronger, and I think we'll see that this season coming up. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight also for me.
So now my second one finally comes back to mind, and I'll combine 2 moments from the season that are along those same themes as you mentioned, Jonathan, and sir, you mentioned before. Is, the freaking scene where Oliver goes and confronts her.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of high society Thea, for a while, and then this is when he goes to see her as Arrow. And then she like snaps and the martial arts stuff kicks in and she just leaps over the balcony wall. like I sat there for quite a number of minutes just with my jaw on the floor. Like just floored by what had just happened, and then the second time that I kind of had the same kind of feeling was when the DJ guy that she was dating for a while was going to try and assassinate her, but she picks up on the cyanide or whatever the poison was in the wine glass, and the 2 of them throw down. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm still not a huge fan of Thea. I'll get into a little bit more about my negatives on Thea, but I did like those two moments. They stick out to me definitely. Casey, you got a second one?
No.
All right.
I totally was going to answer that question for you. No, he doesn't.
We'll go ahead and move on. And I think, Casey, the reason you're saying no is maybe because of the same thing that I'm getting is I did like season 3, but what I'm remembering right now more easily is all the things that I didn't like about season 3. So let's just go ahead and roll with that. And I'm gonna try and do a very quick diarrhea of the mouth and like spit out everything that bugged me. I won't get too far into it, but I'm a little disappointed with this show in the continuous need to cast Roz or Raish as no offense to everybody, but as like an Irish or Scottish white guy. I think this show handled it better as far as having a reason for that or making up a reason for it. So I was bothered at first, but I backed off of that a little. As much as I like the 2 moments with Thea, I still kind of sort of can't stand her as a character, and more so, what I really dislike, even though some of you guys may be up on it, what I really dislike is the whole she was a crap character. Now she's on a high point, but as you see the previews for season 4, she's apparently going back down in the toilet again, and I'm like, just get rid of her. I cannot stand the Lances in general, except for Sarah. So I would kind of like to just see the other 3 of them just lined up against the wall and executed. If Damien Dark does that in season 4, I think I'll be completely happy.
He'll just phase them.
But in particular, I can't stand Laurel, and like the whole period of time with her as Black Canary, doing the 2-hand swinging with the billy club, like just. With like the 2-inch long billy club, just absolutely drives me nuts every time I saw her on screen.
It's a heavy billy club.
Jesus, I mean, it's just, yeah.
I guess all that training has gone down the pipe. With, whatever.
What training? I didn't see any training.
and I was. I guess was this season Wildcat or was that season 2?
Yeah. Another pointless arc. Yep.
Yeah, At first when they revealed that he was Wildcat, I thought this is awesome. That's one of my favorite characters from the comics. Yeah. Then when they just completely neutered him and made him useless and wasteful, I was like, well, there was an opportunity to have a really awesome character in the show that they just took and shit on the carpet, right? So.
Well, who knows? That actor may have had a job that he needed to go to, so they had to shorten it. I don't know.
All right. So who wants to do their negative rant next?
Casey, it's your time.
John's the one that gave it a 6.
Yeah. I mean, the show. I just wanted to get back to the basics. Even the flashbacks were kind of downers too. Those were kind of highlights in the first 2 seasons, where it's like, oh wow, you get a little background of this this brotherly thing going on between Oliver and Deathstroke. Slade, there we go. Couldn't think of his name. But so it was nice seeing that in season 2. In season 3, it was just. It dragged. It never changed. It was the same thing. There was never a resolution. And then when the resolution came, we kind of already had the answer during the real-time events that were happening. We had an idea of what that serum really was and what it did. So I just think the arcs were just all over the place. I just wish that all the arcs made a little more sense. I just wish the whole arc of the season made a little more sense. Because they have this big bad thing they want to do with like Ra's al Ghul and Deathstroke and whomever. It just didn't work. He wasn't like Ra's al Ghul. You kind of envision him as this like he's got this presence. I never felt that presence with him on screen.
He wasn't formidable.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, I just think the arc in general was just, it didn't work.
You didn't think that Ra's al Ghul's arc worked, or Oliver's identity crisis overall worked?
Yeah.
Like which one? Or
I'd say both. I would just say both. Yeah. Because Ra's wasn't formidable, and then I think Oliver made strides personally, for sure, with trying to make sense of who he is as a person, with knowing who he needs to trust with Diggle and Felicity. I think he made a lot of that was a nice thing to see. But then just him as a character in terms of being a hero and what he stands for as a hero, I thought they did a much better job of making sense of that in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
All right, Casey, man, let it fly.
It's all about the villains, baby. No, he just doesn't have villains, and unfortunately, once again, I am a biased comic book reader and have been bombarded with this stuff my entire life. But heroes are like mostly uninteresting. Like they all have the same kind of arcs. They all kind of act the same. They're pretty predictable. But the villains are the wild cards, the things that make the story interesting, and the things that keep you coming back and seeing and wanting to see these heroes save the world from these terrible, terrible people. So if the villains are uninteresting and non-existent, then there's nothing really to bring you back, and there's nothing really to excite you about what's coming next, and to keep you interested and to keep the action coming. And I think Arrow's always going to struggle with that. And I think all of these TV shows that Agents of Shield, not Agents of Shield, but not Flash either, but like these smaller, if they want to continue to develop these smaller like characters, are always going to have trouble developing strong villains behind them to keep the arcs interesting.
Yeah. I struggle a little bit, but let me ask you guys: is Malcolm Merlyn the best villain that has ever happened on Arrow?
Oh, boy.
Slade Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson.
Yeah,
Slade Wilson. Yeah, that definitely.
And I could see that, and I could even agree with that. What I struggle with a little bit is, and those were great seasons. There was great interaction between the hero and the villain, and what characterizes both of those characters, and I wonder if that is a trope and the trope is just that they were simply unreasonable, right? That Slade could never make the rational leap that the things he was blaming Ollie for really weren't Ollie's fault, right? And the same thing with Malcolm, and that's why I disliked them so much. I was just like, it's kind of like, dude, get over it. You guys had an argument. You guys had a disagreement. But you're really not. You just need to let it go, right? I mean, that's kind of
with every show though. Like even sitcoms, like couldn't we just solve this fucking problem with one conversation?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good point.
So yeah, I understand, and I think that's hard, and I think it's especially hard. And I think sitcoms and stuff suffer from that more because at least with a superhero show, you can disguise it behind costumes and theatrics. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think The Walking Dead, even though they definitely played with it and almost got themselves in trouble, I think The Walking Dead did a good job of that with the governor because they showed him as a completely irrational, unreasonable person, but then they pulled back from that a little and humanized him for a period of time before they and you almost held out hope that he was going to get over it, and then they snapped him back.
Really? No, I didn't.
You didn't think so?
No, I hated the governor arc on Walking Dead. But carry on.
I hated him the whole time. There was never a point where I liked him. I'm just saying there was a point where it looked like he was stepping back away from the edge.
Oh, I didn't.
No, I'm actually with you, I guess, because that was my last moment with The Walking Dead before I actually walked away. But it was just. That was the only thing that they did a good job with that for sure. So I agree with you.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about heroes and villains, and I'll just kind of leave this as an open forum. I'm interested to hear favorite heroes, favorite villains, most hated heroes, most hated villains. Anybody who's off the show that we'll miss? Is anybody really going to miss Colton Haynes in Arsenal?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
This is for Arrow, right?
For Arrow, yeah.
Okay. Favorite villain, definitely Deathstroke. Hero. I
should have said specifically for season 3.
Oh, okay. For season 3. Nobody. No, I'm kidding. I'm trying to think. A villain. I would definitely say Malcolm Merlyn. I like the way he was used. He was kind of like this outsider the whole time, trying to plead. I mean, and no one ever bought him being truthful or honest about anything. But I just liked the way he was performed by John Barrowman.
So are you happy with the outcome of him now being the head of the League of Assassins?
No, I think that's the stupidest thing that could ever happen.
I have a theory about
another
that.
Another white guy in power, huh, John?
Sarah, hit us up with your theory. I'm curious to hear what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in episode 15, where Thea and Oliver return to the island. No, that's episode 14. Sorry. So Malcolm releases Slade. So we know that Malcolm knows where Slade is. and can release him at any point.
Yeah.
So this season, I think Malcolm is going to want Oliver to do something. Oliver's not going to do it, and that's going to piss him off and cause him at the end of season 4 to release Slade, setting up season 5.
Okay.
That's what I at least want to see happen,
Okay.
because I think Slade's best.
Oh, that'd be good.
Wait, when does Teen Titans start? Is that show still happening?
No. Well, it's
The problem is I don't think they'd have two Slades on TV at the same time. So,
well, you don't know that there's going to be Slade in that show.
no, I'm just. It's just a Teen
Casey,
Titans.
stop being a smart ass.
I'm
Stop.
sorry. Sorry. I can't help it.
So, anybody else favorite heroes and villains from season 3?
Oh, and I think so. It's just favorite villain and hero, right? I'll just go on the outside again, and I'm gonna say Roy Harper, not because of his performance. I thought he was one of the worst characters on the show, because of that face. I love his face. Stephen Haynes, he is a beautiful person. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think he loves his face too.
Don't apologize. I never said he was ugly. God.
No, I agree with you. He has. I'll go out on a limb and say I think he has a leading man's face. Like when he's a little older and has a little more scruff. Sarah, what were you gonna?
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just sitting here minding my own business.
Sarah's gonna go talk to Pete and be like, I think we should rethink this partnership.
So, Case, any favorite heroes and villains from season 3?
I would like besides Roz, I can't remember any villains. So obviously, there's one that stuck outside of my mind. And like I said, I think they're really dropping the ball with Count Vertigo. In the comics, Count Vertigo is like an actual count, and like he's kind of like a cheesier Doctor Doom, and he has like this wand that like he makes people fall over, I guess, or get vertigo. I don't know what happens when you get vertigo, but he makes it happen. So I would really like to see that. Like I would really like to see that Count Vertigo come in something, and maybe be like connected to Oliver's past in some way. But yeah, I don't really remember like a standout villain. I just really want them to get away from the Batman stuff. Like it'd be nice.
Yeah.
They are.
I was going to say, I guess I think Jonathan said it. My favorite episodes of the season were anytime that Barry Allen showed up. So as far as favorite heroes, that was like my thing. Like I just loved whenever he showed up.
That's cheating.
A little bit. I grant you that. Most hated hero I mentioned, Laurel's Black Canary.
Oh man, what's with her costume, Sarah? You're a female.
Thank you. I am.
There's no way you would wear that costume. Like you would just die from heat exhaustion from being having to wear a straight up full on leather outfit with straps.
Casey, you're missing the bigger point though. That's supposed to be Sarah Lance's costume, but it looks completely different.
Oh, that's stupid. This show doesn't know what it's doing.
Well, it's at least right?
She just needs a blue jacket and some jeans and a black t-shirt and a mask. That's all she needs. She doesn't need this dominatrix. That's more dominatrix than any dominatrix would wear. That's probably you would take that to a dominatrix club and oh honey, you're going. That's a little overboard. We get it.
Did you like Sarah Lance's black or canary outfit?
Yeah, I thought hers was just the right amount of, like I said, a little too much black. I would like to see some blue in there, a little dash of blue. But yeah, I do. I think that was just subtle enough, and still she could still kick ass in it. I just don't see how. I can't even get the whatever her name is. Not Sarah, the other one. Katie. Yeah, I don't see how she moves in that thing. There's no. I've worn leather pants before. There's no way I could wear them for more than an hour. She wears them for seemingly hours on end with the full leather.
Well, you saw how she moved, right? She moves like this.
Yeah. Oh, we finally figured out why she needs to double grip the baton.
Yeah.
She can only move one arm so far.
That whole thing harkens back to the what's his name, to the Michael Keaton Batman, the first suit when he couldn't turn his head whenever he had to look in a different direction. He had to turn his whole torso. So she was my least favorite hero.
Yeah.
I mean, and unfortunately for her, it's because I have a hard time pronouncing her name. Is it Kathy Lutz?
Katie Lotz?
Katie Lutz, yeah.
Katie Lotz.
Not everybody was
Hard
a
time
huge fan.
pronouncing Katie. There.
I know. She pronounced Katie Cassidy's name.
Well, no, but she spells it like Caithy.
Oh, the spelling. It's okay.
I'm gonna fire everybody the hell off this show and just.
Well, it's fun, guys.
So yeah, but she was my least favorite hero. Villains, I will probably be hated for this. I actually liked that. So I do not have a very high opinion of Captain Boomerang in the comics. Right,
I forgot about him.
The blue, like in the comics, he has like the blue, like frickin' cigar smoking jacket with little sky blue boomerangs all over it, and like a scarf, and like a World War II era like flightman's cap. I'm like, he's so horrible in the comics, and I thought this guy Digger Harkness was actually done very well, and actually felt like a real threat on the show. Which again kind of made it a big deal, a big moment for me when Barry showed up to pull them out of that. So let's talk about season 4. Jonathan, can you? He's muted right now, but Jonathan, can you run us through what you think the trailer for season 4 kind of revealed? What we should expect to see?
Green Arrow. I'm so down for that. I mean, when I heard the name mentioned, just the one time, I think it was by Damien Dark. That's what I've been waiting for them to finally turn to. The new suit, bringing in the supernatural a little bit with Damien Dark, I think is gonna be really cool. And just like finally, kind of like, I mean, you still have that team dynamic, but I think that's the main thing is the change to finally calling him Green Arrow instead of the Hood, and all these other names they've given him. And I think Damien Dark's going to be a good villain. I hope, at least. Just basing it off of the actor they have.
Yeah.
So I think that'll help because you saw with Manu Bennett for Slade. I mean, he brought a gravitas to the role. I think Damien Dark, same thing here.
Cool. And we did see Matt Ryan appear in that trailer. Is that right?
Oh, that too. Yeah. That too.
Yeah, but only one episode, they said, right? He's
only one episode, but there's potential for him to come back in the back half of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
they just need to turn Arrow into Justice League Dark, and I would be like a much happier man.
Can you guys tell me what the Shadow Spear is? Because that's going to happen. Oliver's going to interact with the Shadow Spear in the flashbacks this season. So can somebody explain to me what that is?
That would be Casey's World, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me 5 minutes. Hold on.
Okay. Baron Blitzkrieg is like one of the people involved there.
Yeah, so that's funny too, because in the comics, like he has like a big swastika, like on his like arm, or something. So it's gonna be weird how they kind of handle that. I wonder if those make him like a German guy.
No, they cast an African American. I can't pronounce his name, or else I would. I'm so sorry.
Weird.
So there's that in the flashbacks, and Oliver's going to have a love interest in the flashbacks, and they're going to use it to parallel his relationship with Felicity in the present. So that could be interesting. Echo Kellum was cast as Mr. Terrific, and he's going to be friends with Felicity at Palmer Tech.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit in the chat. I think entertainment editor Everett Harn was of a slightly different mindset than I was, and I may be misapplying this to Everett's opinion, but I don't know, and so I have this thing in comics where I'm not very interested in seeing the younger versions of heroes. Like, I just want them to be the heroes that I know that they're going to be. For me in the comics, Mr. Terrific has always just been a very, very serious character, highly intellectual, always knows always catches the stuff that gets by 90% of the other heroes. So to see this younger rendition of him is just something that I'm really not interested in seeing. So I don't know. You guys think differently about that?
I was just gonna say I don't know much about Mr. Terrific, so I'm kind of interested in seeing who the character is and all
that. Okay. What is I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just gonna say Henry Hewitt was cast as, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, so hold the laughter. Tokamak or Tokamak? What is Tokamak? What is that?
Wait, what?
It's spelled Tokamak. Tokamak? He's going to be a powerful metahuman?
Tomac?
Sure. No? Maybe?
I don't know.
Casey, I'm asking you. You're supposed to know this stuff.
I mean, Tomac sounds familiar. Ormac sounds... Spell it again?
Tokamak. Tomac.
Yeah, I don't know.
It says it's in a plasma.
Casey, have I given you too much homework because you're still trying to figure out the Shadow Spear too?
No, I think I've never heard of the Shadow Spear. Are you sure you're not talking about the Spectre?
The article I looked at said Shadow Spear, so there's that.
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Yeah, I don't see anything here on a Tomac. I see a Henry Hewitt. Dubbed himself Takomaka. There.
See?
Tacomac. It's like a truck. It's like a food truck.
Yeah.
Come to the Taco Mac. Yeah, I don't want to. He's okay. So Henry Hewitt was a chief executive of a high-level corporation in 2000 committee. He attempted to pursue U.S. Senator Walter Riley. Lorraine experiment. He duplicated the fire. He's related to Firestorm somehow. It looks like he's a Firestorm villain.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
So yeah, it looks like he was maybe harmed in the Firestorm experiment, and then now he has to wear like a special suit so he doesn't die. Something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it looks like they just found some weird random villain nobody's heard of.
So Jonathan, you mentioned having problems with the flashbacks in season 3. What are your guys' thoughts on the fact that the flashbacks for season 4 are going to be in Coast City, obviously the hometown of Hal Jordan's Green Lantern?
Yeah. Cool. With that, I mean, I don't know if maybe it's a setup for a season 5, but this is not the first time they've kind of teased the idea of Green Lantern.
Right.
So, it'd be interesting to see where they take it, for sure. I want to see how they handle those and how many nods they really do to Green Lantern. And yeah, that'd be cool if Green Lantern showed up, but I don't know how that would work.
I feel like he would have mentioned it already. You know, he's like had all these adventures. He's not gonna be like, oh yeah, one time I ran into this guy who had like a magical ring and he could like fly around through space.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we should call him. Like I feel like it would have came up.
Yeah, you're right. So.
But see, my problem is if they go through the entire season and don't do it, I'm gonna be pissed because why freaking go to Coast City? Like.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't introduce
if they don't do something with Green Lantern, and for me, it's got to be more than what I want to say. It's got to be more than a Winter Soldier thing, right? It's got to be more than a newscaster on screen saying, "Oh, and there were reports of like a dude flying around with a green ring."
I figured out. Here's what happened. So Carol Ferris Air will have some kind of like device or something that somebody wants. I don't know who it is. Some nefarious character.
Right.
Oliver will go in there as a Green Arrow and try to stop who's ever doing it.
Yeah.
Hal Jordan will just happen to be there.
Yeah.
And then they'll like team up and like they'll stop it. And then like at the end of the episode, like Hal will like see like a green light like flash over like the sky.
It'll probably be an episode where Hal kind of establishes why he's going to become the Green Lantern.
Yeah. But
Either that or Arrow will fuck Carol Ferris. Either or.
It's funny though, Agasicles, what you said though, I think is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be one of those like establishing shots of Coast City, and then they're going to have like some type of like voiceover or whatever, kind of saying, "Oh, yesterday, blah blah blah, there was a sighting of a meteor in a very vast area, whatever." I just see that happening, or it's almost a given.
Yeah, that'll just aggravate me.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts?
Gatsby, I don't want to alarm you, but we've been talking about Arrow for well over an hour and 15 minutes. So unless we're going to be here for 4 hours, we probably should pick up the pace a little bit.
No, I agree. That's what I was going to say. My expectation is that the conversation on Flash will go shorter because it was just one season and it doesn't have.
Yeah, we love it.
2 years behind it. So,
I have notes, guys. I have points.
So go ahead and take it away and give us a recap of season 1 of The Flash.
Okay, season 1 of The Flash. Barry Allen gets struck by lightning. And he gets super speed force powers. He wakes up and with help from Cisco and Caitlin and Harrison Wells at the Star Labs, they help him take down metahumans in Central City. Harrison Wells is at first very creepy, and then he turns slowly but surely psychopathic because it's not Harrison Wells, it's Eobard Thawne. Boom. And Eobard Thawne has gone back in time to kill Barry Allen, but when he did that, he caused a, what would you call what it is? He divergent from the timeline, from the main timeline, and he ended up killing Barry Allen's mom. So that happened. And there's some other stuff, but Flash is way too complicated for me to say what happened.
So let's go ahead and let this conversation just jump off the rail.
Yeah, Time Force open, and then
there's like multiple
dimensions. This is my quintessential
There's gorillas everywhere. I mean,
this is my main problem with The Flash season 1, and I like the show. I am highly concerned by them going down the route of getting involved with divergent timelines already, because shows that do that tend to unravel themselves. That's a genie that's incredibly difficult to get back in the bottle when you choose to bite off, and I don't really like it.
That's one, and I think along with that too is like introducing so many characters this season. Jake Garrick, Zoom, Grodd is going to show up at some point again. What are they going to do with Harrison Wells and Eddie? I mean, it's just so much going on. That's a big concern of mine too. Like, where are they going to place all these characters throughout the season, including the crossovers with Arrow? It's just, I don't know. It's a lot. Plus, and Caitlin's arc this season. Like, there's just a lot. More still unanswered questions with Firestorm. I mean, I'm excited, but wow.
Firestorm is the most ridiculous thing to ever happen on television.
I agree.
You don't like Firestorm, really? I thought that was one of the stronger arcs.
The concept of it is ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. And they could have, know what they should have done? They should have, and this would have been so progressive of CW. They should have made it 2 gay characters that were like in love. Like, oh man, that would have been really. But the fact that it's like this old, like 60-year-old man.
Mark the time code. Mark the time code.
Oh man, I would be so much more in love with that story arc if that's what the case. Because I think that makes it way more interesting. I just don't think like Robbie and the Doctor, like there's no connection there. Sorry.
Well, when you put it like that.
But I think like in the comic book, like I think the people that make Firestorm, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe someone correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't read a Firestorm comic in a long time. But I think they're like friends. Like they hang out, like they're like they're like the same like age. No, they're not.
No, the TV show is actually fairly accurate, with some minor differences in kind of where the timelines are. But you know, in the comics, you know, it is Ronnie Raymond and Professor Stein who get merged into Firestorm. Ronnie is not an engineer. He's actually way, to me, in my mind, he's not the guy he was on the show. He's much more a jock. I can't even remember exactly how he winds up in the lab with Professor Stein, because character and background-wise, he should have had no reason to be in that lab.
Yeah.
I maybe remember that incorrectly. There is a later rendition of Firestorm, and they kind of nodded to it, at least in season 1 of Flash, with the African American guy that Caitlin talks to the first time, who tells her of the code name Firestorm, and his name is Jason. I can't remember his last name, but in the comics post Blackest Night, it's that guy and Ronnie Raymond who wind up merging to become Firestorm. So I'm actually, I think I heard Sarah right.
Wait.
Yeah.
From the correction department, I was right. So in the New 52, it is him and a high school friend who get turned into Firestorm. So we were both right.
Yeah.
Well, that was gonna bug me because I was like, no, I fucking read them. And I remember a scene where like he was having sex with the girl and his friend calls him and was like, I'm in trouble.
Well, they were
sorry, guys,
they were friends before, but by later. Well, never mind. I think I heard Sarah right that she thought Firestorm was good, and I'm very positive on Firestorm also. Like, again, when I talk about like those great moments in the season that you remember, like when he takes off and flies for the first time, I was just like mind blown. I mean, my jaw was just on the floor, and I figured they would eventually do it. I didn't think they were going to pull it out that early. Yeah. So.
Actually, it's funny because during the first half of the season, I stopped watching The Flash because it just bothered me. I wasn't familiar with these characters, and it was just Metahuman of the Week. And then I came back when after Nuclear Man episode aired, and that episode forward was just amazing storytelling that happened. Yeah. So I really like that. Okay, so theory. Earlier this week, Stephen Amell tweeted a photo of him and Grant Gustin standing side by side, both in suits. Yeah, and then there's the line, well, it's always fun to shoot game-changing scenes or something along the lines of that. So my first thought is, okay, well, Robbie Amell's character died because we know Legends of Tomorrow is coming, and he's not a part of that cast as far as we know. They haven't revealed that, and they've said that the first half of The Flash will explain why that's the case. And it makes sense to have that loss take place, causing this like group of, I want to say vigilantes, but whatever you want to call it, go off and try to save the world in defeat. So, and that goes back to your point about there being another version of Firestorm that potentially they could go back to and call back that actor and say, hey, do you want to be Firestorm officially now? So.
Yeah, that would be interesting to kind of switch up the trios.
The good doctor comes out, and he's like, I've been hiding this secret all my life. And then he comes out as gay, and then we finally get my storyline. Oh, perfect, Sarah. Great. Fantastic.
All for you, Casey. All for you.
I just think that's one of those like perfect characters where like that is like that's a great like idea, and like I think they would totally like people would be okay with that in the medium. Like you're not like forcing on them, but it's a great way to like kind of have these two characters who are now in love, and now when they get together, they share this awesome power together. Like that's the symbolism that we need in this time and age. I'm getting way too preachy. Let's move on to something else.
No, now that you say it, I actually like that.
So now Robbie Amell is another actor who it looks like the reason he's not going to. I mean, he's not going to be around that much this season. Yeah. And I think the reason is he's also moved on to focus on other projects.
Pretty boy,
Okay.
Okay. Moved on to playing high schoolers in movies. What movie was that in where he was like supposed to be like, he was like 18? It's like, this guy looks like he's 35. Like, what is he doing hanging out with these high schoolers?
Actually, he's moved on to play a part in the X-Files revival. Which is really bizarre.
Why aren't we talking about that? Let's just
Because Sarah doesn't know anything about it.
So let's talk a little bit about some differences between Flash and Arrow. Number one is I commented about Arrow that one of my problems was that they kind of start the downhill run at the mid-season finale or whatever, and then it takes so long to resolve it. But Flash kind of really did too. Like the big moment in Flash is the Christmas episode in December, where they do the big reveal and they finally just come right out and admit it that Harrison Wells is the big bad, right? So, and after that, you're just kind of like you have to. I mean, if you were watching it in real time, you had to watch it week to week at that point, right? To not get the mystery spoiled for you. But any theories on why Flash was able to do that and kind of do a whole half-season run-up to the big mystery resolution, but when Arrow did that, it just fell apart?
Oh, that's a good question. Because it did last longer, but I think, it would have been better if it was done in like maybe 6 episodes, like you were saying. It'll be a lot tighter, quicker. You get to the point. Okay, it's over. Because it kind of, I think it still had its high of like, wow, this was amazing. But it was such a quick end, and it wasn't even Flash that finished it. It was Arrow, pumping the 3 arrows into his chest. But I guess for Flash.
Technically, sorry, I'm going to interject here, but technically it was Eddie who ends up defeating Harrison Wells.
That's true. I forgot about that. That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, that's right. I don't know really. I guess because it's because of the special effects. I don't know. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay.
Just raising your hand like we're in class. I have a good point to make, everybody. Let's.
It's like my version of the life thing. I don't know. So you're essentially, I don't think it's fair to compare Flash Season 1 versus Arrow Season 3 because you're comparing Harrison Wells, which was an amazing villain, an amazing arc. It was really, his scenes with Barry, with Joe were just impeccable. And you're comparing that to Ra's al Ghul, who, that was our biggest complaint about Arrow Season 3, was the villain. So that's why it didn't work, because you have a formidable villain versus an unformidable one. So there you go.
And performances, too, were a lot better on Flash, like you said.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Harrison was like, great Scott, that freaking dude deserves
it. Yeah.
Let's not forget about Cisco's performance when Harrison kills him.
Oh yeah.
That scene broke my heart.
Oh, yeah. I was choked up there too.
That was stellar.
The concept that Cisco might be Vibe, I think.
He is.
About as well.
Oh yeah.
They better cut his hair though. If he's gonna be Vibe, he needs a haircut. That long hair in a
Casey, they can only give you one thing per season. Okay, you're asking too much.
So now, are they going to make Caitlin Killer Frost?
Yeah.
No. Okay, Sarah. Sarah. Sarah.
That's
who was the girl who was on your podcast who had the theory about Killer Frost?
That was Amy.
Amy, she was spot on. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it won't be the Caitlin we know. It'll be a girl. It'll be a Caitlin from Earth 2. Who was like this terrible murderer, and then it became a metahuman. And that's the point too. Like she needs to be a terrible, murderous human being. I don't think like she has the name Killer Frost because she literally just kills people. Like she loves killing people. You know what I mean? Like she is a murderer. So like I think like she really needs to have that like really hard edge on her if they're gonna do it right. But yeah, I think Amy was spot on with her prediction. And it kind of does seem like the obvious one, but it's definitely going to be Caitlin from Earth 2.
Mm-hmm.
So are we high on the projected romance for season 2, or is that a low for you guys?
What romances?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for theories. Because I'll kick it off by saying I'm just ready for like somebody to just like slap Iris. Like I'm so.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, as a reader of the Flash comics and having been like he's always been with Iris, you know what I mean? So it's like just get with her already. Like it's another thing too. It's like this can all be solved with one conversation that you guys are not having.
Yeah.
Just have the conversation.
Barry had that conversation multiple times. It was Iris who didn't want to move things in that direction.
Yeah, I don't know. That it just needs to happen. Like I just think they just need to get over that hump because it's gonna if they drag it on for too long, it's gonna hinder the show. Because like I said, in the comic books they've literally been married forever.
Like decades.
Yeah, so it's like just get it on.
Casey, it's not gonna happen until season 3.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
How do you see it is being introduced?
Season finale will be the wedding.
Yeah. Right.
Season 2 finale.
Yeah.
Well, then I mean, should that be what happens? I mean, the historical lesson is every time you have loves that they're going to get together, the series always tanks after those two characters finally tie the knot.
I don't know. I think Lois and Clark would have something to say about that. No.
Yeah.
No, that's another proof. That's another proof of the thing. It's like, and I love Lois and Clark.
Yeah, I probably do agree with you, but it has to happen. Like that's a huge thing for the character.
Yeah, I just fear it's the CW, and they're just gonna drag it on for as long as they can. So I think it's gonna be like, because they already teased, like you said before, about another love interest for Barry. I think they're gonna play with that for a while, and then eventually he'll be with Iris. But yeah, it's gonna take a little while.
Right. So when I wrote that question, I asked you guys during the Arrow session about wanting to talk about heroes and villains that we'll miss. It's really characters from the Flash that invoked that question. I'm gonna miss Captain Cold being a villain on the Flash. I thought what's his name, Wentworth Miller. I thought he was so awesome as a villain.
He's the best.
See,
they should have done a Rogues TV show, as opposed to a Legends of Tomorrow TV show.
Yeah.
The Rogues comic that was out when the New 52 launched was so good, and it's such a cool idea that they're this fumbling group of super villain misfits and they're this D team.
It would have been really funny.
Yeah, I'd rather see that than the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would say I want to see Grodd has to come back, and I really think he needs to be the main villain, the season. And I really hope they're hiding that. I know they're I know Zoom is supposed to come back or whatever, but I really really hope that behind the guy behind it all ends up being Grodd. Yeah. And I think that's a really cool way you could do that too, because you could still have him be there, but be mind controlling everybody, so you never have to see him all the time, and he's just always there. Or he's always in or you see a shadow on a building somewhere, where he's mind controlling the villain from. So that's who I'm really excited for. But also think that the introduction of Earth 2 kind of stunts that, because he's not what's his involvement going to be within Earth 2 unless he finds a way back to Earth 2 and starts bringing these villains over some way. You know what I mean? So
now in the comics, doesn't Grodd's character eventually become a complete Caesar, Planet of the Apes guy with a big army behind him?
Yeah, he his whole goal is to transmute humans into apes.
Yeah.
And he does at some point he does build an army of transmuted ape people. And he can mind control people too. So I think that's he could amass an army that way. I just think he's such an interesting villain, and it's so crazy and outside the box. A talking gorilla on a network TV show. That's something that could sell toys. You know what I mean? That's a thing that they could really market well and kind of sell the show on. I think I really hope we see him again. 10 seconds last season was just not enough.
Yeah.
So it's more a comment. I think there's a question in there somewhere. I don't know how to put it together, but I will say the thing about the Flash that to me is so impressive is the character moments, the one line, there's so many one lines, or a set of dialogue that stick out to me in that season. The conversation that Joe and Barry have, where Joe says, I need my Barry Allen, right? And when he says, when he's talking about, when they adopted him and he came to live with them, and he says, I thought I was doing you the favor by bringing you in, but the reality is you made my house, have a family again, or whatever, that. There were.
You don't think they overused that a lot? Because I felt after like season 3, episode 3, me and my wife started making a joke, like, okay, here comes like impassioned speech moment, like number 1 of the show. Like you almost set your clock by it, like when like there's always 2 impassioned speeches, there's always gonna be one like after after he fails like fighting the villain the first time. And there's gonna be one right before he goes out to fight the villain again. Like it was almost like bam, bam, bam. Every episode you could like set your watch by it.
So for me, that show, and especially the Arrow crossovers, I was okay with it. It's a little pulling back the curtain and more of what we see in the comics. But for me, it was okay because when we talk about the Justice League, which is kind of where I come at all this stuff from, and the roles different characters play in the League. The role of look back at the Flash's history. He's the guy who sacrifices himself in Crisis on Infinite Earths. He's and he does it again at the end of Convergence, and he does it. I mean, when you talk about the League, he's this one character who kind of transcends all of the superpowers and the science fiction and the space stuff, and he's the one who really defines what the League is supposed to be about as far as heroes, right? It's like, look. We have this responsibility. And not in like the Superman kind of cheesy kind of way, but we have these powers, we have this responsibility. This is the bar that we're supposed to set for ourselves, and never descend below that threshold. And I think that's kind of what they're showing us in the show. Making it much more about family and the people you love and the things of that nature that drive you than it being about stopping crime.
No, I think they're nailing like the Barry Allen and the Flash like the tone. Yeah, I would argue to say like the Flash is probably overall one of the best comic book like live action things ever. Like, and I would have put that up against like the Dark Knight Returns. Like, it's just so like it's ballsy and it's a comic booky and it adheres to the characters so well and it does it in an entertaining way. It's not overly cheesy. And there is a lot of like, impassioned speech moments and then like, you can do it, Barry moments. But like that's what, you're right. I guess that's what Barry Allen is. That's what the Flash is. Like he's always trying to go faster. You know what I mean? So I think the show just really nails it, and I think they really have like an uphill climb with introducing Earth 2 and alternate realities and this whole other thing that the Flash gets into, and it gets really, really nutty really fast.
Is Grant Morrison an advisor on this?
I don't know. The good thing is they can do a Flashpoint episode and just reset it all. So no, I don't think he is. But Jeff Johns is, and so I think he's doing it.
So Sarah, what defines this show in terms of why you like it and why you're so up on it, if that label's accurate?
Time travel. Enough said. Time travel.
Get out. Get off the set.
What? Why? Is that? I didn't realize there was a wrong answer. I quickly take it back. But so far they've done the time travel episodes really well. My fear is that they're going to use that to reset things, as Casey just pointed out. Because that takes away stakes for me. If it's just, this is going to be reset, okay, problem solved. And that gets tiresome and annoying, but hopefully they're not. They've just managed to have a really strong first season, and especially the last half. But I think it's all because of Harrison Wells, really, why Flash did so well first season, because that arc was really, really brilliant.
I agree. Do you want him back?
He's coming back. And we're going to see, because of Earth 2, he's going to come back, potentially, theory-wise, going on here. We're going to see Earth 2 version of Harrison Wells, who is a lot different from the one we know. But
he'll be working in like an Apple store.
He'll be the guy in IT at Queen Consolidated instead of Felicity.
Well, in the Speed Force, we saw Barry Allen in jail. Anything's possible.
Yeah. All right. John Connor. God, I knew I was going to not be able to get out of the show without doing that. But Jonathan Reyes, what about you, man? What kind of defines the show for you and what you like about it so much?
Oh man, it's fun to watch. Just the special effects and it's just fun. Just it's a ball to watch it to see how fast he's gonna go, what new ability he'll figure out each given week. Who's he gonna face and what are they gonna give up? What are they gonna come at him with? It's always fun seeing that. Like even if it's just a small moment, like saving somebody in a burning building, and he just like whips his arms around. Which even though that moment was kind of silly because it was like in the middle of everything happening, but just moments like that, it's neat to kind of see that kind of stuff on TV.
It's a tough bar for them to hit for the second season, right? I mean, you talk about the revealing additional powers. I mean, what he has left is pulling the super vibe through, like the Reverse Flash did when he killed Vibe. I mean, like that's the only thing off the top of my head that I can think of that he has left to figure out. And that's one of my concerns is that
he phased through stuff already in season 1, didn't he?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
He ran through the wall, right?
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to bounce off of John's point about the show being fun. I think it is a fun show and entertaining in that regard, but it also has the ability to have really dramatic, compelling moments, too. I mean, Eddie killed himself at the end of the finale, and that's a really devastating thing for them to explore the idea of suicide.
Can I tell you how happy I was when he fucking shot himself? I was like, oh my god, this character is the worst.
Time marks. Time stamp. Write it down.
See, what was funny for me, Casey, is that's the way that I thought that I should have felt, but I didn't. Like, when that happens, that character was just turning himself around to be somebody that I absolutely liked.
Yeah, I agree.
So I felt like they paced that like perfectly for the season.
Yeah, the show's written really well. I think what's his name, Greg Berlanti, kind of got this thing down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's hitting his stride. So hopefully Supergirl will kind of be the same thing. Sarah, you saw the pilot? You watched the pilot yet?
I did watch the pilot.
I'm so interested to hear what you say about it because I really want a female's opinion because I mean that no offense to anybody, but that show is like targeted directly at like girls, and I just really want to know like what.
Okay, can I say my thoughts about Supergirl?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, I watched the pilot. Why the heck do they have to bring up the fact that it's a girl every other scene? It's so annoying, and you don't have that in the Flash. It's not Barry Allen's boy. Can he do it? No.
Yeah.
God, it just irritates me so much. Take notes from the show The 100, where they have a leading lady who's strong, independent, but they don't constantly badger her about being a female. That's how you write a female-driven show. I'm stepping up.
Now, is that show a Christopher Nolan-esque thing where she's like the only superhero in the world? I guess they different than Superman. Yes. Yeah.
No, Superman exists and everyone knows about him.
Right, but beyond that, is there the concept of superheroes in the universe?
They haven't mentioned any. They're too stuck on Supergirl being a girl,
right.
saving people in the city. They gotta get it. Progress is slow.
That makes me once again. I want to like Supergirl, but the fact that you hated it, like I'm just like, oh shit, like that show is doomed.
Okay,
don't
put words in my mouth.
No, I'm saying you're the target audience, but like if you're not gonna I'm sure you'll watch it because it's your job to watch it. You know what I mean? But like, if you're not enjoying it, well, I mean, it's your it's your volunteer work to watch. I don't know what you call it. You're gonna watch it because you're gonna want to write about it.
Nerd obligation.
Yeah, it's your nerd obligation. But I'm just so interested to kind of see because I don't think my wife's not gonna. I think it's just even if it's too cheesy for my wife, like I don't know who's gonna watch that show. It makes me worried. You know what I mean?
It's a tough character. I mean, like I would have felt much more positive about a Power Girl show than a Supergirl show.
Right.
I would love to see the costume. You would think I was looking for the costume of that show.
I think I'm going to have the same problems that I had with the first half of The Flash, though, because I wasn't a big fan of The Flash until the second half. And that's really where the overarching storylines came up, the universe building. So I'm waiting for that to happen. And I want to like Supergirl. The pilot episode was basically just watch that 3-minute trailer that they released. That's a pilot episode. That's all you need to watch.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the best thing that she ever did in the comic books was become a Red Lantern, and they're obviously not going to do that on the show. So.
Oh, wouldn't that be the best though?
That would be an awesome show.
After the first episode, like a ring just like flies through her, like it's all rage hungry and fucking just murders her roommate.
That would be awesome.
Snaps her neck. It's like, fuck you, Zack Snyder.
So let's go around the room real quick before we wrap up, and let's take a few minutes for everybody to just kind of mention, next to the CW superhero shows, what else are you guys really looking forward to this fall season?
Oh,
Jonathan Reyes, I'll start with you.
Yes. Well, not Gotham, but anyway, I'm moving from that. Let's see. Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if it counts, but I'm excited for that.
That
show.
totally counts. That's probably one of the best shows on TV. You know what I hate, John? You're with me on this. Cartoons do not get enough fucking credit for being great television. Like, I watch more cartoons probably than I watch live action stuff. And my wife's like, why the fuck are you watching cartoons? Because it's magical. It's a magical moment for me. You're ruining it. I'm like, fucking shit. Like Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is an amazing TV show. Steven Universe is an amazing TV show. And nobody's talking about them. We're talking about fucking Gotham and its horridness.
Oh my god. Don't get me started. Oh god, Gotham's a disaster. But anyway, yeah. Star Wars Rebels.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Casey, what about you, man?
I am looking forward to a lot of stuff. I'm looking forward to Scream Queens, which I have DVR and hopefully going to watch tonight.
I watched the first half of it. It's so good.
Yeah, I heard it's really good, so I'm really kind of excited for that. I'm really looking forward to American Horror Story. I love Lady Gaga. It's so weird to say. But I'm a Gaga-holic, everybody. Whoop whoop.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I just love that show, and I love kind of what it does and what it does with its characters and the kind of ensemble that it has. So I'm really looking forward to that. What else? Of course, Flash and Arrow. I'm super excited about. And yeah, I am with John. Like Star Wars Rebels. I'm looking forward to the new season of Ultimate Spider-Man. Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy started tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. To watching more Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I am such a child.
So Sarah, a resident television expert. What about you?
I am not a television expert.
How long are you to hold that against me, Agasicles?
Actually, it's being held against me, Casey. That's what you did. I'm not a TV expert. I'm like trying to think of things that I'm excited for.
Listen, anyone that can name off episode numbers is a TV expert. I'm just like, oh, you know the one that happened like, I don't know, a week and a half ago?
And then correct herself when she gets them wrong. Yeah,
exactly.
That happened. I was there.
Expert status. My friend.
I'm excited for Jessica Jones to be released on Netflix.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones. I totally forgot about Jessica Jones.
That's going to be awesome. I'm excited for The Good Wife to return.
Yes!
Yes!
Bye.
Okay, we need to have a podcast.
That hot Good Wife talk.
I love The Good Wife.
It's a great show. The narrative in that show is just amazing.
Yeah. It's a great.
It is. We'll talk later about it.
For sure.
So The Good Wife to return, and
our newest podcast, The Good Wife, with.
Hey, I plan to do episode recaps of that show. Thank you very much.
Exciting.
So excited. I feel like Mr. Robot this summer spoiled me so much because every show I think of now or watch, I always compare it to it, and it's like, no, you're not as good. So that's why I'm struggling right now to think of shows I'm excited for. Yeah, moving on.
Cool. For me, it's The Walking Dead is my jam. I put in a lot of hours this summer binge watching everything up through season 5. So I got over that thing I had when I first started watching the show of like I could only watch like one catch-up season per year because it made me just think about like my daughters and like what would I do if anything ever happened to them.
Yeah,
or,
I'm with you. Every time I watch that show, I just want to kill myself. I don't know if I can do it anymore.
Okay, so that's
Why am I even living? Like what?
so.
I want to go for a
TV
walk
and
when
air
I watch that
conditioner.
show.
I didn't watch The Walking Dead until last year, and then I binged all 4 seasons over the course of a weekend, but not one weekend. No, I was bored enough that I did it the following weekend, and the following weekend, and
wait. Are you saying you triple binge watched it?
yes.
Oh my gosh! You must have been like a ball of like depression.
Wow.
Like you come in, you're like a goth kid on Monday, and it's like, oh, well, Sarah's watching The Walking Dead again.
So there's episodes that I like can replay in my mind.
Oh my!
You must have the worst nightmares. Like, there's no way you could have watched that.
It's not a scary
I'm
show.
so happy about that show.
Oh, it's scary.
No, it's not.
Life is scary, Sarah. That show is
understand that
hard
show.
life.
Not if you live in Alaska.
Oh,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's my big jam, but I'm also looking forward to the Blacklist starting back up. I think we got Everett into that, so it'll be interesting.
I gotta get into that. So.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I just want to hear James Spader's voice. Oh man, Ultron.
I know. They should they should put the Ultron like filter over his voice.
Yeah.
Ratings would go up.
But it's really awesome. What I'm really looking forward to this season is the main protagonist, who is an FBI agent in the first 2 seasons, is going to fully step into James Spader's world, and James Spader, that plays one of the main characters, Red Reddington, who spent a lot of his time in the underworld before he came back into the public eye. So it's going to be interesting seeing her kind of do that full-on switch. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So, any comments that anybody wants to make in closing as we wrap up? It's going to be a big TV season. I just like.
No one mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I think.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Tragic. No, I'm looking forward to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. My biggest thing with that show is now like how are they going to drag out Inhumans for 4 years? Because like I don't like. Yeah, how? Because here's the thing with Inhumans, like they're all tied together, like it's considered like a royal family. So like, I don't know how you're gonna like take a, I don't know how you're gonna introduce them, and then like 5 years down the road introduce like the real like hardcore, and I don't know. It just seems very early and weird, and that show's taking notes.
Have they introduced Black Bolt at all?
No.
No.
Oh no.
No, they won't. Not for a
Yeah,
while.
he will not till the movie. I'm saying like you're not going to meet Black Bolt and Karok and Medusa or Karnak. I'm sorry, and Medusa and maybe Gorgon. You may get Gorgon in the TV show.
Well, no Inhuman is actually important except Lockjaw.
Yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine if Lockjaw like showed up in the background of like the TV show? Oh man, that'd be the shit. Yeah. So I think. Like that's my biggest like thing. I just want to see what they're gonna like. How are you gonna pull this thing off? Like how are you gonna carry this thing out for 4 years until that movie comes out? And it's very weird. And then the whole like mutants thing and like them using that as like their mutants. Like it's just a whole story of like Marvel and their Inhumans thing. And like even in comic books, it's all very, very strange. So I'm really kind of looking forward to that.
Very cool. Very cool. Anything else from anybody?
Don't watch Gotham.
I think I could have blacked out, but I started watching the first episode of the second season, and I'm like, what's going on?
I can't.
No.
It recorded on my TV, and I was like, what happened? Like I thought, like where did this show come from? I thought I deleted it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, for joining in tonight. I really appreciate it. Made for a pretty awesome send-off episode. I was not, a member of this Geeks on Screen podcast for that long, and I wasn't a regular. I was an infrequent member. Jonathan and I guess we kind of showed up about the same time-ish.
Yeah.
On the show, and had a limited time with it, but have pretty fond memories in the short time that we were on.
Well, we're dropping the guillotine on that show, Gatsby, so just forget about it.
All right, I'll drop it.
No, just...
Screens and nerds forever, man.
Oh.
No, but I mean, it's all of the same people, right? Plus Sarah and Pete. And their
Wait,
crew.
why am I not part of the same people group? Why do I get like?
Well, I don't want to. I'm trying to give you guys credit
All
for
the same people, including Pete and Sarah and Casey and Matt.
Yeah,
It's okay.
The family is growing.
Just an expansion of the family, right?
It is.
Sure, it's fine.
So we look forward to seeing you guys, both on the Screens and Nerds weekly show as well as the special edition spoiler cast and side shows that I'm sure we'll continue to do. So
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining
We have
us.
one planned.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
excited for that one.
We do. I don't want to drop that one.
Yep, I know. Yep, we'll save that.
Am I invited?
Oh yes, ma'am. By all means.
Yep. Prepare for the season 4 Gigolos recap episode.
We're gonna be talking about Arrow season.
I actually thought it was a. Never mind. I won't say it.
Yep, totally understand what's going on here.
I thought it was going to be a Channing Tatum, Mark Wahlberg,
No,
pretty nice crossover.
Sorry, you guys missed my joke. Gigolos is actually a show on Showtime that follows a group of young gigolos in Las Vegas. Just in case you're looking for it. It's on Sunday nights at like 10.
All right. We're clearly flushing ourselves down the toilet bowl here, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. And thanks a lot for joining in. And that is a wrap for the entire phase of Geeks on Screen. Thanks so much for joining in. We are out of here.
Go to geekswithwives.com.
Is he literally